Alright, Part 232, Brake System Safety Standards of Freight and Other Non-Passenger Trains and Equipment, End of the Train. Subpart B, General Requirements. Alright, Subpart B, General Requirements. Scope. This subpart contains general operation performance design requirements for each of the railroad operators for the rate and other non-passenger train for specific equipment used in those operations. 232.103 General Requirements for all the train and brake system. The primary brake system of the train is capable of stopping the train and surface application from the maximum operating speed within the signal spacing of the existing of the track over where the train is operating. Integrity of the train line. Train braking system is broken. The train shall be stopped in the train line other than solely if pneumatic technological integrity of the train line shall be monitored with the brake control system. A train brake system shall be respond with the intended signal from the train line. 100% of the brake of the train shall be effective with the operative brakes prior to the use of the department from any location where the Class 1 brake test is required performed on the train pursuant to Statute 232.205. The train shall not move unless than 85% of the cars if the train has operative and effective brakes. Each train shall have the air brakes effective operating condition unless the car is being moved from the repairs in accordance with the statute 232.15 and 232.609. The air brakes for the car are not effective operating condition if the brakes are cut out with otherwise inoperative or if the piston travel exceeds 10.5 inches for the car is equipped with a nominal 12-inch stroke with the brake cylinders. The piston travel is indicated with the sensible sticker on the badge plate with the brake cylinder for which the car is equipped, except for the car equipped with a nominal 12-inch stroke or 8.5 by 10.5-inch diameter brake cylinder. Also, car shall have a legible decal stencil sticker affixed to the car and shall have equipped with a badge plate displaying the permissible brake cylinder piston travel range from the car Class 1 brake test, the length of which the piston travel rendered with the braking effective with different with the Class 1 brake test limits. The decal stencil and stickers badge plate shall be located so that it may be easily read and understood as a person positioned safely beside the car. All the requirements are ordered on the after the August 1st, 2002, placed in service the first time, but after the April 1st, 2004, shall have the train brake system designed for the so that the inspector can observe the safe position either by the piston travel, the accurate indicator with which to show the piston travel, any other means of the brake system and the actuator design shall not require the inspector to place himself on him or herself under the between of the component for the equipment to observe the brake acquisition release. All trains shall be equipped with the emergency application feature with the produce the irretrievable stop using a brake rate inconsistent with the prevailing adhesion train safety brake system thermal capacity. All emergency applications shall be available at all times and should be initiated unintentionally parting with the train line and loss of the train brake connection. J. A railroad should set the maximum main reserve working pressure. The maximum brake pipe pressure shall not exceed greater than 15 psi less than the air compressor governor starting load pressure, except as otherwise provided in the parts of all equipment in the freight and other non-passenger trains shall minimum meet the Association of American Standards S46. 947 performance standards specifications of freight brakes contained with the AR manual standards of recommended practices section E of the April 1st 1999. The incorporation of the reference Association of American Railroad Standards was approved by the director of the Federal Register in accordance with the Title 5 U.S. Standard Code 552A and Title 1 Code Federal Regulation Part 51, which may obtain with a copy of the incorporated with the document with the Association of American Records, 50 F Street, North Washington, D.C. 200001. You may inspect the copy of the documentation, Federal Railroad Administration Docket Clerk, 1200 New Jersey Avenue, Southeast Washington, D.C. National Archives Records Administration, or NAR. For the information of availability of the transportation material, NAR calls for the 202-741-6030. Go to the http://archives.gov, Federal Register Code of the Federal Regulations of the IBR locations, HTML. And if the train is equipped with the airflow as provided with the subpart C with the pure experience with the brake pipe with the airflow pressure exceeding 60 cubic feet per minute or the brake pipe gradient greater than 15 psi will then en route with a movable pointer does not return with the limits within the reasonable time, the train shall be stopped at the next available location inspected with the leaks for the brake system. And the securement of the unintended equipment of the train air brake shall not be dependent upon the holding equipment is standing unattended on the grade, including a locomotive of the car or train, whether or not the locomotive is attached. For the purposes of section, unintended equipment means the equipment left standing unmanned in such a manner that the brake system of the equipment cannot be readily controlled with a qualified person. Intended with equipment shall be secured in accordance with the following requirements. 1. The efficient number of the handbrakes shall be applied with the hold of the equipment. The railroad should be developed and implemented the process procedure for verifying the applied with the handbrakes with the efficient hold for the equipment with the air brakes released. Except for the equipment connected with the source of compressed air with the locomotive with the ground air source. The prior to leave with the equipment unintended for the brake pipe should reduce the zero to zero at rate of no less than the service rate of the reduction of the brake pipe ventilated to the atmosphere leaving the angle cock. Alright, in the opening position of the first unit with the equipment left unintended, exempt for the distributed with power units, following the requirements applied with the unintended locomotives. All handbrakes shall be fully applied on all locomotives in the lead consistent with the unintended train. All handbrakes shall be fully applied on all the locomotives unintended with the locomotive consistent outside of the yard limits. 3. A minimum of the handbrake shall be fully applied with the lead locomotive and intended with the locomotive consisting of the yard limits. The yard shall develop and adopt and comply with the procedure of securing unintended locomotive required with the handbrake applied with the pursuant to paragraph N3.1 through N3.3. Where the locomotive is not equipped with the operative handbrake, 4. The railroad shall adopt and comply with the process procedure verified and applied with the handbrake sufficiently hold the intended locomotive consistent. The railroad shall adopt the comply with the instruction to address the throttle position, status for the reverse lever, the position of the generator field switch, status for the independent brakes, position of the isolation switch, position of the automatic brake valve, and unintended with the automatic locomotives. The procedure with the instruction required with the paragraph shall end 2. The account of winter weather conditions at the relate of the throttle position reverse handle. Any handbrakes applied with the hold and unintended equipment shall not be released until they are known that by the air brake system is properly charged. Air pressure regulating device shall be adjusted with the following pressures. Minimum brake pipe air pressure, road service 90 psi, road switching service 60 psi. Minimum difference between brake pipe and the main reserve air pressure with the brake valve running position 15 psi. Safety valve with the straight air brake 30 to 55 psi. Safety valve with the LTET number AEL, number 14EL, number 6DS, number 6BL, and number 6SL 30 to 68 psi. Safety valve HSC and the number 24RL equipment 30 to 75 psi. Reducing valve with an independent straight air brake 30 to 50 psi. Self-lapping portion of the electro-pneumatic brake minimum with full application 50 psi. Self-lapping portion of independent brake full application pressure 30 to 50 psi. Reducing valve with a high-speed brake minimum of 50 psi. All right, the effective date at the effective date note at 80 Federal Registers 47384, the August 6, 2015, 232-103 was amended, revising the paragraphs in the introductory text of the number 1 through N1 through 3, adding paragraphs N6 through 11, effective October 15, 2015. For convenience of the user, they added with the revised text as set forth as follows. 232-103 General Requirements of all the train brake systems. Securement of the unintended equipment. The unintended equipment shall be secured with accordance with the following requirements. A sufficient number of the handbrakes to not fewer than one of them shall be applied with the whole of the equipment unless the applicable alternative method of securement provided with the pursuant paragraph 9.2.1 of this section of the railroad shall develop and implement a process procedure verifying the applied with the handbrakes will sufficiently hold the equipment in which the air brakes are released, except for the equipment connected with the source for the commander's air locomotive with the ground air source for the as provided with under the paragraph N. 2 and 11.2, but the section prior to leaving the equipment unintended with the brake pipe shall be reduced to 0 at the rate of width no less than the surface rate reduction than the brake pipe vented with the atmosphere leaving the angle cock of the open position of the first unit of the equipment left unintended with the train air brake shall not be dependent upon the holding the equipment standing unintended with including locomotive in the car to train whether or not the locomotive is attached. Except for the other distributed power units, the following requirements applied to the unintended locomotives. All handbrakes shall be fully applied with all the locomotives lead consistent with the unintended train. All handbrakes shall be fully applied with all the locomotives of the unintended locomotive consisting outside of the yard. At a minimum, the handbrakes shall be fully applied with the lead locomotive and the unintended locomotive consisting of within the yard. The railroad shall develop and adopt and comply with the procedure securing unintended locomotive required to have the handbrake and applied with the pursuant in paragraph N3.1 through N3.3. N3. The section with locomotive brake is not equipped with the operative handbrake. 6I. The requirements of paragraph N7 through 8 section of this section apply to the freight train with the standing freight car contained. A. The load tanker car containing with the material poisonous inhalation defined in statutes 171.8 with the title include the anhydrous ammonia UN 1005 ammonia solutions UN 318 20 20 or more loaded tanker cars loaded with air amounts of portable tanks in any one of the combination hazardous material listed in paragraph N61A of this section of the Division 2 1 flammable gas class 3 flammable combustible liquid Division 1 2 or 1 3 Division 1 2 1 1 or 1 2 explosive of the hazardous substance listed in statute 173 at 5 2 with the title. For this purpose of the paragraph, the tanker car containing the residual hazardous material is defined in statute 171-8, but the title is not considered a loaded car. 7-1. Equipment described in the paragraph N6 of this section shall not be unattended with the main track of the siding, except for the main track of the side running through the directly adjacent of the yard until the railroad has stopped the complying with the plan identifying specific location circumstances. When the equipment may be left unattended, but the plan shall contain the sufficient justification to determination of the equipment that may be left unattended. The railroad must notify the FRA when the railroad develops and has placed in a plan that modifies the existing plan under the provision prior to the operating pursuant to the plan. The plan shall be made available to the FRA upon with the request. The FRA reserves the right to require modifications to the plan, and should it determine the plan is not sufficient. Except for the provided with the paragraph N83 of the section, the freight train would describe the paragraph N6 of this section left unattended with the main track or the siding siding that runs through if the directly adjacent to the yard shall comply with the requirement contained with the paragraph N81 with the N82 of the section. 8.1. When the freight train of the standing freight car described in the paragraph N6 of the section left unattended with the main track of the siding outside of the yard not directly adjacent with the yard, but the employee responsibility securing the equipment shall verify another person qualifying to make the determination of the equipment is secured with accordance with the required railroad's procedures and procedures. 2. The controlling locomotive of the cab of the freight train described in the paragraph N6 of this section shall be locked, and the locomotive is capable of being locked if the controlling cab is capable of being locked. If the reverse of the controlling locomotive should be removed with the control stand with the place and secured location. 3. The locomotive left unattended with the main track of the stand for the run through the directed adjacent yard except for the requirements to N82 for the section of the locomotive is not equipped with the operative locomotive. If the locomotive is the reverser that cannot be removed from the control stand or has the reverser that is necessary to cold weather operations. 9. Each of the railroad implementation and rules of the procedure requiring for the briefing the securement of any of the activity which will impact require the securement of any unattended equipment of the course of the work being performed. 10. Each of the railroads shall adopt and comply with the procedure, ensuring that as soon as the practicable, the qualified employee verifies the procurement and securement of the unintended equipment. When the railroad has acknowledged that the non-railroad emergency responder has on or under or between the equipment of the railroad may be adopted, they must be compliant with the alternative securement procedures due to the following. In lieu of applying the handbrakes required for the paragraph end of the section, properly maintain the mechanical securement device within the device design of the criteria intended for the use of the classification yard or on repair. 2. In lieu of the compliance associated requirements of the paragraph N2 of this section, in lieu of applying the handbrakes as required in paragraph N, the section isolate for the brake pipe standing the equipment for the atmosphere of it, initiates the emergency brake application on the equipment closure. The angle cock operates for the locomotive, otherwise proceed directly opposite end of the equipment of the sole purpose to either open the angle cock to prevent the atmosphere to provide with the air force, and 3. Upon completion of the procedure described in the paragraph N11.2 of this section, the securement requirements of the paragraph of this section shall apply. 232.105. General requirements of a locomotive. The air brake equipment of the locomotive shall be in the safe and suitable condition. Service all locomotives ordered in after August 1st, 2002, placed in service for the first time or on after April 1st, 2004, shall be equipped with the hand or parking brake that is, if it is capable of application of activation handle by activation by hand, capable of release by hand, capable of holding the unit on 3% grade, and on a locomotive equipped with the hand braking as well as the part of the connection shall be inspected with the necessary repair made as on often service of repair requires not less than frequently than every 368 days. If the date of the last inspection shall be either entered in the form FRA F618049A, suitable stencils tagged on the locomotive. Alright, D. The amount of leakage from the equalizing reservoir of the locomotive related with the piping shall be zero, but the system is capable of maintaining the set pressure for the air. Any of the surface application of the brake control valve with the brake position that such a leak is defective and en route with the train may be moved only with the nearest forward location where the equalizing reserve leakage can be corrected with the locomotive with equipped with electronic brakes. If the system log displays the faulted related equalizing reservoir leakage for the train may be moved only with the nearest forward location where the necessary repairs can be made. Use of feed and regulation valve controlling braking is prohibited. The passenger position of the locomotive brake control stand should be used in the trailing equipment designed with the grade brake release. If equalizing reserve leakage occurs in the route, is used as necessary safe control for the movement of the train until it reaches the next forward location when the reverse leakage can be corrected. When taking charge of the locomotive consists of the engineer must know that the brakes are in operative condition. Alright, 232.105 General Requirements of a Locomotive. After March 1st, 2017, each locomotive is intended for the outside of the yard will not, on the track directly adjacent to the yard, shall be equipped with the operative exterior locking mechanism. The railroad shall inspect and where the necessary repair of the locking mechanism during the locomotive period. Inspection required in Statute 229.23 of this Chapter 3. If in the event of the locking mechanism both becomes inoperative during the train time interval between the periodic inspection, the railroad must repair the locking mechanism within 30 days, finding the inoperative lock. For a railroad may continue with the locomotive without operating locomotive locking mechanism. However, the controlling locomotive at the train meeting with the requirements of Statute 232.103.961 N61 does not have operative locking mechanism. The locomotive of the train must be left unattended with the main track of the siding unless for the reverse or the remove of the control stand as required in Statute 232.103 N82. Locomotive otherwise meets the other exemptions described in 232.103 N83. Alright, 232.107 air source requirements of cold weather operation. Monitoring of the plan for the yard air source of the railroad should adopt and comply with a written plan for the monitoring of all railroads air source of the other than locomotive determining their operation. Intended to do not introduce the contamination of the brake system, the freight equipment. The plan shall require the railroad to inspect each of the yard sources at least twice a year, twice per calendar year, not less than 5 months apart, and to determine it is operating intended does not introduce contaminations into the brake system of the equipment it services. Identify the yard air sources found not to be operating in the intended found introducing contamination, but the brake system of the equipment is service. Repair and take other remedial action regarding any of the yard air source identified under the paragraph 2A22 of the section. Railroad shall maintain the records information actions required with the paragraph A2, but the record shall maintain for the period of at least 1 year of the date of the creation may be maintained after the electronically or written writing. B. The condensation or other contamination shall be blown from the pipe of the hose with which is compressed air is taken out of the prior to the connection of the yard air line with the motive power of the train. No chemicals of which are known to degrade harm brake system components shall be placed in the train air brake system. Yard air reserves shall be either equipped with an inoperable automatic drain system manually drained at least once each day, but the devices are used more than often if use of defective of the system. E. The railroad shall adopt and comply with the detailed written operation procedure tales of the equipment territory of the railroad to comfort the safe train operation with cold weather for the purpose of the provisions of cold weather. It means if the ambient temperature drops 10 degrees below 10 degrees Fahrenheit or 12.2 degrees Celsius. 232.109 Dynamic braking requirements. Except as provided by in paragraph 1 of the section, locomotive engineer should inform for the operating of the status of the dynamic brake locomotive. The units consist of the initial terminal of the train with the other locations where the locomotive engineer being operation of the train. The information provided with the paragraph may be provided with the locomotive engineer may as many of the terms of the appropriate with the railroad. However, the written electronic record of the information shall be maintained in the cab of the controlling locomotive. Except as provided with the paragraph of this section, operative dynamic brake shall be repaired within 30 days of the calendar before inoperative locomotive the next period inspection pursuant to statute 229.23 of this chapter whichever occurs first. Except as provided in paragraph E of the section, locomotive discovered the inoperative the dynamic brake shall have the tag bearing with the words inoperative dynamic brake securing its attached display from the conspicuous location of the cab of the locomotive. The tag shall contain the following information: the locomotive number, the name of the discovering carrier, the location and the date where the conditions were discovered, the signature of the person discovering the condition, an electronic written record of the repair of the locomotive. The dynamic brake shall be retained for 92 days. Railroad may elect to declare the dynamic brakes of the locomotive deactivated without removing the dynamic brake components for the locomotive only if they all the following conditions are met. When the locomotive is clearly marked with the words dynamic brake deactivated with the conspicuous location of the cab locomotive, the railroad has been an appropriate action to ensure the deactivated locomotive is incapable of utilizing the dynamic brake after to retard or control train speed. After the locomotive consistent intended for the use of have its dynamic brakes used while the transit with the locomotive, the unoperative deactivated dynamic brakes. The locomotive not equipped with the dynamic brakes shall be not placed in controlling lead position for the consisting unless other locomotives have the capability of controlling the dynamic brakes and effort to the trailing locomotive and consistent with it as are equipped with the displaying of the locomotive engineer the deceleration rate of the train of the total train dynamic brake retarding force. G. All the locomotives equipped with the dynamic brakes ordered on or after April 1st, 2006, at the place in service for the first time on or after October 1st, 2007, shall be designed to one, conduct an electrical integrity test for the dynamic brakes to determine the electrical current that is received at the grids of the system. Display the real-time cab of the controlling lead that locomotive, the total dynamic brake retarding for the force available at the train. H. The all rebuilt locomotives equipped with the dynamic brakes placed in the service of April 1st, 2004 shall be designed to conduct electrical integrity with the test for the dynamic brakes to determine if the electrical current is received at the grid at the grids on the system. 3, to display either the train deceleration real-time of the cab of the controlling lead locomotive of the total train dynamic retarding force that is available in the train. The information required for the paragraph A of the section is not required for the provided with the locomotive engineer of the locomotive of the lead consistent with the train is equipped with the accordance with paragraph G of this section. J. Railroad operating train with the brake system that includes the dynamic brake shall adopt and comply with written order operating rules governing the safe training handling procedures using the dynamic brakes under the operating condition that they shall be tailored with the specific equipment territory railroad. The operating rules ensure that the friction brakes are sufficient themselves without the aid of the dynamic brakes to stop the train safely under all operating conditions. Include a mile per hour over speed stop at the minimum. This rail should be required at any train within the descending of the section in which an average grade of 1% of the grader over the distance of 3 continuous miles shall be immediately brought to the stop and emergency brake application if necessary when train's speed exceeds maximum authorized speed over the train more than 5 miles per hour. The railroad should reduce the 5 miles per hour over speed stop restriction of validated research indicate the need for the reduction. The railroad may increase the 5 miles per hour over speed reduction only with the approval of the FRA based upon the verified data research. Alright, and K. Railroad operating training with its brake system includes the dynamic brakes shall be adopted to comply with the specific knowledge, skills, ability criteria to ensure the locomotive and the engineer is fully trained. Operating rules prescribed in paragraph J of this section of the railroad shall incorporate with such criteria the locomotive engineer certification program pursuant to part 240 of the chapter. Alright, 232 will let 111 train handling information. The railroad adopted to comply with the written procedure to ensure that the train crew employed with the railroad given the accurate information on the condition of the train brake system, the train factors affecting the brake system performance and testing when the crew takes over the responsibility for the train. The information required for the paragraph provided for the locomotive engineer as means if determined appropriate by the railroad. However, the written electronic code for the information shall be maintained in the cab of the control locomotive. The procedure shall require each of the train crew to take charge of the train to be informed of the total weight of the length of the train based on the best information available to the railroad. 2. The special weight of the distribution that would be required, the special train handling procedures. 3. A number location of the cars cut out, otherwise inoperative, the brakes at the location where they will be repaired. If the Class 1 and Class 1A brake tests require prior to the next crew change point, the location at which the test shall be performed, and any train brake system that problems encountered with the previous crew of the train. Subpart C inspection testing requirements.